Hello everybody, this is Solar Tiger with another solar video. Today is in June of 2023 and the weather is sunny and we're outside at the solar shed. Out here we have solar panels. So we have, for this shed we have two 50-watt solar panels in series for 100 watts. On the shed roof are three 100-watt solar panels, that's for the main system, and on the side is a old 100-watt panel that only puts out about 20 or 30 watts, and it just powers some fans in the shed. So for the shed system we've got 100 watts, two 50-watt panels in series, and let's just go inside. So here is the solar shed, and today's video is about a new solar charge controller that I bought. I have changed the solar charge controller I have in my shed. I was previously using this Sunsaver MPPT. It's a 15 amp solar charge controller, and it has a remote meter. It plugs in, as you can see here, and that's what I was using in my shed. Now, the thing about this is that you can use the optional remote meter, but to see the information I have to be inside the shed to view this. So I can't view this from inside the house, and there's no easy way for me to do that, because this is inside my shed, and when the weather's bad and in the evening, etc., I want to be able to see the information from inside the house without having to come out here. And that's the limitation I found with this Morningstar Sunsaver MPPT. There's no way to view the information wirelessly away from the controller. You can buy various add-ons to monitor over a network, but you need to use a cable, and that's more stuff that I don't want to buy. Also, with the display, the update interval is every 10 seconds, so it's very slow to refresh the display, and the display can only show one thing at a time. So that is that. And also I like Victron equipment because you can view all the information about the charge controller remotely by one of two ways. You can either view it over Bluetooth, like I'm doing here, or you can view it online if you connect it to a Raspberry Pi, like I did indoors. And ultimately I want to do this out here, but I need to get a few more items in order to do that. So I wanted to swap out the charge controller for a Victron one, and I spent my time on eBay over the last few weeks and months looking at listings and keeping my eye out, and eventually I managed to get myself a Victron MPPT charge controller. So the one I've got is the Smart Solar MPPT 100/15. This is the smart solar that has the built-in Bluetooth. That was important, and I'll come to that in a moment. So this is the controller. It's up here. This is the box, the blue and orange box. This model is the MPBT 100/15, and it's a 12/24 volt charge controller. It's auto selecting when you first connect it to the battery. This one has a charge current limit of 15 amps, and with a 12 volt system, that's 220 watts of solar, and with a 24 volt system, that's 440 watts of solar. You can connect solar panels or a series chain of solar panels with an open circuit voltage of up to 100 volts. This controller has a peak efficiency of 98%. It has a self-current consumption of a maximum of 19 milliamps with a 12 volt battery, or 16 milliamps with a 24 volt battery. Then there's some charging information, but that is all user definable as well. You can choose an option in the settings, and you can preset whatever you like. So there's a quick thing on the back of the box about some of its features. I'll just show you that. I've mentioned that in previous videos when I did the indoor system. So that's that. So we come to the controller. On the front it has 3 LEDs, blue for the bulk, there's an amber one for absorption, and a green one when it goes in the float mode, as it says right here. Now when it comes to the wiring, you have to note the difference from conventional. I go back to the sun saver here. Typically the connections would be solar, battery and the load, this end terminal here. So that's conventional. Whereas with the Victron, we have the battery first, the solar second and the load third. Also note the polarity. We've got plus on the left here for the battery, but for the PV, plus is on the left, and plus is on the... Let's start again. For the battery, the plus is on the left, for the PV, the plus is on the right, and for the load, the plus is on the right. So observe the polarity when connecting the cables. This is my sort of simple shed system. So we've got the charge controller up here. We have a battery isolator here. I simply turn it off here when I change the charge controller. If you don't have a switch here, then you'd have to disconnect the battery. Safety thing as well. My load output goes to a fuse box. Should have a fuse in the positive line going to any load, so if it starts a fault it blows a fuse. It doesn't cause overheating wires, smoking, or worse still, a fire. And then we have some switches for my outputs, load outputs, and for my loads I have a music system, a Raspberry Pi here that I'm using as a crypto miner. There's a light over there, just LED light. Bear in mind this is a shed, so it's pretty simple. There is an inverter here, but ignore it, it's not being used. And inside the wooden box there is a 100 amp hour 12 volt sealed AGM battery. There's also a 10 amp fuse in the series in the feed to the charge controller, because we're not using big loads here, so the 10 amp fuse is okay. If you're using this for something else, then put in a 15 amp fuse or whatever matches your charge controller. This inverter was originally installed to run a mains powered grass trimmer originally, but I don't use a mains grass trimmer anymore. I bought a cordless one and I charge it indoors, so you can ignore this, or you could use this for charging up cordless power tool batteries, running a mains soldering iron or whatever, that kind of thing. I never use 600 watts on this. It's only connected to a 40 amp fuse, which will not give you 600 watts, but you will size things according to your usage. But ever since I stopped using the mains powered grass trimmer, I haven't used this inverter. So anyhow, so what I'm doing in here is, this is my solar shed, and the main solar power uses out here is I might use the music system every now and again on a weekend, just have some music on. My other main use is for watering the garden. This is a 12-volt water pump, and outside I have, well, I'll show it to you actually. Outside we have a 1,000 litre water tank, which is filled up by the guttering from my shed. So rainwater fills up this tank, and it goes out of this pipe here into the shed, into the water pump, and then back out through this hose that I use for watering the garden. So that's my main use out here. And recently I've been using a Raspberry Pi to mine for some cryptocurrency. I've done videos about that too before. So the thing about this charge controller is it only has 3 lights on it. There's no display, although you can buy a display, but I didn't want to, it's more cost. So out here I've just gone with a cheap voltmeter, just so that I can see the voltage of the battery if I come out here. So I might want to change this, it's not ideal. So, but the main thing is I can monitor the charge controller through the Victron Connect app. And I'm doing it here via Bluetooth to show you, and as you know, it shows you the wattage from the solar panel, voltage of the solar panel, current from the solar panel, battery voltage, charging current, the status of the charge controller, which charging mode it's in bulk. It tells you that the load output is on and the load is drawing about a third of an amp. Now this miner is not actually mining at the moment. I've just switched it on, so it's just like in a standby state. So it's only drawing a third of an amp. This miner runs on 5 volts. Behind this panel is a DC to DC converter, and those 15-watt ones off of eBay. So if we compare some of the numbers, voltmeter saying we're at 13.4 volts. The app says we're at 13.4 volts. Good, that matches up. I have a watts meter connected to the solar panels. And at the moment we have a panel voltage of about 36 volts. And we're pulling in 14.5 watts. says 14 watts, and the voltage is about 35 volts, so everything's all matching up. So, cost-wise, the seller on eBay listed the controller for £75, or make an offer. So I offered £60, and the seller came back with a counter offer of £65, which I accepted. So I got £10 off of it, and it is a new controller. Came in a box with instruction manuals, so it's brand new, and I got it for £65. So I thought that was a good deal. So this is Solar Tiger saying thank you for watching, and until next time, goodbye and thank you.